Well, hey everybody, welcome to another fun episode of Campfire Tales. The place where you come looking for the truth and you leave wishing you didn't know. As always, is joining me is Jeff. How you doing, Jeff?
Great.
Jeff, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Let's say I don't know, it's like the 60s in Indianapolis, right? And
Okay.
you're sitting home one day, a guy knocks on your door. And he's like, "Hey, I'm here selling monkeys."
Okay.
In the midst of him trying to sell you this monkey, he goes, "Hey, how about you come to my church and sign over all your wealth and belongings and just follow me around?" He has a monkey. Are you going to go?
I mean, he wouldn't have to try very hard to sell me the monkey. But
part of the monkey is you have
I'd-
to follow him around, though.
Oh, no. I mean, I wouldn't. I'm not giving him all my wealth, you know?
But you're figuring out let that monkey go. That's a chance for you to own a monkey. And we all know
how much wealth am I talking about here? Like, you know?
I mean, it's 1960s in Indianapolis, Indiana. So I'm thinking like, I don't know, you probably work a job and make like
do
$2
I
an hour.
have the means to get a monkey another way? You know?
Well, he's the only monkey salesman that's ever come to your house. So, I mean,
I guess there was no internet back then, so I couldn't really just order.
Just as a heads up, if somebody comes to your house and introduces themselves as a monkey salesman, you don't want anything from
them. It seems like a bad time.
Even in the 60s days.
But you could get a monkey. So,
yeah. So one of my greatest dreams in this life is become a bank robber with a monkey as my partner.
I'm only assuming that the only reason Jeff would want to get a monkey from a monkey
is to give it a gun.
He could do the whole 80s montage training session to make it into the greatest fighter of all time.
That's for sure. Yeah,
of course.
And then the best.
Oh my god!
Nothing's gonna keep it down.
Get a monkey microphone. That other voice you heard is Dave. How you doing, Dave?
It's me.
Dave, can I ask you a question?
Okay.
I'm gonna ask you a question anyways. Let's say, hey, it's the 60s. You've been following this guy around. He has he has his church and he sells monkeys, and that's what got you in.
Wait, he has a church and he sells monkeys.
That's correct, yes. Okay. And he says, hey, there's this guy named Jeff. Well, I'm trying to convince. But the monkey didn't sink him like it did you. So I need to convince him he has cancer. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna carry like rotten chicken guts in my pocket, and I'm gonna pretend I pull it out of his mouth. But I need you to eat it real quick before he looks at it too closely. So you're gonna have to eat that, okay? Are you gonna eat it or are you gonna leave?
I left like 3 sentences ago.
Is it the monkey? Does no one want a pet monkey anymore?
No.
Well, man, that's just where I grew up. I always thought that was like every kid's dream was to have a pet monkey.
Now, if it was a prime ape,
well, prime ape's totally different. You know what I mean? I don't know if you want to be around a prime ape. We found out a couple episodes ago what happens. They move in next to Jeff. Somehow they get guns. Jeff doesn't do anything about it.
Some might even suggest that every week for about an hour, I'm learning what it's like to spend time around a prime ape.
You know what? That is rude and that is ignorant. But hey, last week on the main show, as you all know, we talked about the lodge, which featured a little death cult. So I thought it's only been a year and some change. Why not? No, it's not. It's been 2 years and some change. Why not? Let's start our own little talk about some death cults and talk about Jim Jones and Jonestown. Woo! Either one of you boys know much about People's Temple, Jim Jones and Jonestown?
I've heard of it, but I don't really know much about it.
No,
I know they had a monkey.
They did have a monkey, Mr. Muggs.
I know it's rife with political intrigue.
It is with that. They're actually a certain U.S. senator which also doesn't tell you about how in the U.S. senators became a lifelong job. A certain senator who just died recently was actually starting out as a senator when Jones was trying to get into politics.
Yep.
Miss Diana Feldstein.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So if that doesn't tell you how messed up American politics are, no, it does.
Everything else, maybe?
Yeah, well, there is that too. Well, hey, we're gonna talk about some Jim Jones from Jonestown. A tragic tale and probably the cult that kind of put cults on the map. But I think what a lot of people don't realize when you talk about Jim Jones, they kind of see him as this weird, like, mystical dark figure, when really he was a ball bag. So this should be fun.
He was a ball bag.
Yeah, this dude was. You know what Jim Jones was?
A ball bag.
Besides the ball bag, he was a guy who was like, I just want to do drugs, have sex, and own a monkey. What better way to do it than have this call? And then all of a sudden he got himself to the point where it's like, oh, my mouth is writing checks, my ass can't cash.
Ruh-roh, Raggy.
Yep, pretty much. Pretty much. And also, I think he was a weirdo, which I think is
wow.
I think that's
a bold statement.
He was a weirdo from a young age. Like I said, he was born in Indianapolis, Indiana. When he was born, and this was back in 1931, so a long time ago. And his mom always said he was going to be a great man. Whatever she was saying to him, he was something, because a lot of the kids in the area, they didn't like hanging out with him because every time they found a dead animal, he would force them to have an animal funeral where he would talk for hours. Mm-hmm. So people really enjoyed that. And
so he really liked animals.
Dead animals, particularly.
Well, I mean, he wanted to have a funeral for him.
Yeah, but like, it was weird. He also shot his BB gun at a bunch of his kids when if they would leave before he told them they could leave, he'd get mad, shoot them with a BB gun. And then also there was a local casket company, and on many occasions he would take them, because people would leave it unlocked all the time, like the workers, presumably they worked around the clock, take them in there and force kids to lay in caskets and close the lid. So he sounded like a real swell guy to hang out with.
A real special feller.
Yeah. So I mean, what if you guys were kids? Remember back, when you guys were kids? And
I've never had anybody do that.
I was going to say, what if someone came out, one of your teachers came up and goes, hey, listen, there's this little kid named Jim Jones. He really wants to hang out with you. And he's like, hey, let's have this funeral for a bird. Wait,
all right.
Then he looks at you, Jeff. He's like, have you ever laid in a casket? You want to?
I mean, if I was a little kid, I'd probably lay in a casket just to see what's going on.
What?
I mean, you're curious, I mean, don't you think you'd be curious, right? As like a youngster?
I watched enough horror movies when I was young to be like, no, I don't want to get in there.
Well, I mean,
what happens to the locks?
I don't know.
Bad things.
Yeah. See? Dave, are you doing the same thing? Would you do it?
Would I jump in a casket?
Would you follow this guy to his bird funeral and then get a casket for him?
No, I would not.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm starting to feel better at least about one of you, yes. So after a while, this may shock you, but kids didn't really want to hang out with him. So
weird.
Then he started, the neighbor guy was an airplane pilot. And then all of a sudden he's like, well, I'm going to be an airplane pilot. So he said he used to go sit down at the airfield and watch that. And then after a while, he saw a preacher and he's like, no, I want to be a preacher. That took hold of him because he literally would start going to 4 or 5 churches every Sunday and sit in them and listen. And the other thing that was weird about him was during this time, there was a lot of racial tension in the area. And he would go to African-American churches as well and say he was going to preach at them, which a lot of people in the area found a little odd. But he was an odd kid because he was literally like a 12-year-old kid wearing fucking suits, going to 5 or 6 churches every Sunday, and saying he was a preacher.
He was dedicated,
He was dedicated. So time goes on. He does this all throughout high school. And then as an adult, he tries to get a regular job. First, he starts off as a coach. Right out of high school, he starts as a coach for a local basketball league. Then a puppy got thrown over a railing. And when he asked about it, he's like, we just wanted to see what would happen. So they fired him. Then he started working for no one, it's weird. Then he started working for a nursing home, which people said he was great. But then a lot of employees were uncomfortable because he would make fun of them, give them a hard time. And there was one employee who was definitely afraid of the dark, and he kept locking him in the morgue and shutting the lights off, causing the guy a panic attack. So that didn't last too long. And then this time he decided he was going to start preaching for the Methodist Church. That lasted all of like a year. And they were like, no, thank you. No, thank you. So then he kind of became like this evangelical preacher, and he would travel around preaching at various churches in Indianapolis till he got his own. And he was also a monkey salesman. He used to travel door to door selling monkeys.
Like, did he have a lot of monkeys?
I'm assuming, like, I think they were like the little monkeys, like in the cage. So I'm assuming he'd probably have at least 4 or 5 in his car, right?
Like the spider monkeys or whatever they are.
Or like just like little monkeys. Yeah. I mean, he also got big monkeys because they the last monkey he could never sell, who they named Mr. Muggs, who was named after the Tonight Show monkey at the time, or Johnny Carson's monkey or whatever at the time. And like he couldn't sell that monkey, so that monkey became the mascot of Jonestown. And when the mass suicide happened, Mr. Muggs was the first to go.
That sucks.
Yeah, but like,
so wait, they say Mr. Muggs killed himself? Is that what?
No, they killed Mr. Muggs.
Oh, I was gonna say, because that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, like Mr. Muggs wasn't like the first in line for the Kool-Aid. Like he, but they were the Flavor Aid. Excuse me.
I'm sorry. What did you say?
Flavor Aid. I made mistakes. Said Kool-Aid is Flavor Aid. I apologize because I to you, but yeah. So like, yeah. So he eventually he gave up his monkey job because he started getting more followers in church. He actually, at this time, the community actually loved him because he helped out a lot of poor folks. He actually did a lot for the effort of ending segregation in Indianapolis. He helped a lot of poor folks. He was known as a great spiritual leader. He then tried to become a missionary. So he like said, "Hey, I'm gonna leave the church." He did all this great stuff. He found out he wasn't very good at being a missionary because, like, one, it's hard. It was a hard life living like in poor area. He was like overseas. It was kind of boring because he didn't know how to speak any other languages or anything. And people didn't think he was like the greatest thing since sliced bread.
Did he become a missionary to make millions or something?
He thought he would make a bigger name for himself, and like basically, if you like read the like some of the stories, like the Road to Jonestown is a really good book. He basically was like, "Oh, I'm going to become this missionary. Everybody's going to think I'm great because of all the cool missionary stuff I'm going to do, and like people are just going to give me churches, and I'm going to amass this large following."
That seems misguided.
And then like they put him somewhere that's like a little poor village in South America. He didn't speak Spanish. He like it was really dirty and gross. He didn't like it. No one really liked him. He didn't do much. And like after a year, he was like, "Well, I'm done." So he went back to his church in Indianapolis. By this point, it kind of like fell apart because he wasn't there, and like didn't have as many followers, whatever. And so then he's like, "Well, I got to work up followers again." And he started traveling to other churches and like watching stuff. And he started watching a lot of evangelicals and like their healing powers and stuff, and like the stories they would tell. So first he started telling everybody that he came back because God told him after he saved this South American village because this lady who was like a leader down there was in a bad way. And she's like, "Hey, you can heal me if you have sex with me." And he was like,
"Seems reasonable."
Okay. And so then he's like, he healed the village. He's like, but then he felt like he had to come back and heal Indianapolis again. So, you know, he's got divine power. And then he started performing healings from the church. Apparently he was like, he had like almost supersonic hearing. And like, he would like act like he was busy setting up for church, and he would listen to people say stuff. And so then he would be like, "Oh, God told me your toe hurts." And she'd be like, "Oh my God, how did God told you?" And really, he ever heard her like complain to somebody her toe hurt. He also started stealing small things from members of the church. And then the next Sunday, he'd be like, "God told me you can't find your car keys." How's that? I found them. Look at that. God made me do it. And then the gross thing he started doing was he started healing people of cancer. And basically, what would happen is at first he would tell people, hey, go to the bathroom. You need to try to force yourself, take poop. And then basically he had chicken guts like hidden in the toilet. When they get done, they'd be like rotten chicken guts. But then once he started getting more people, he's like, well, I got to do this miracle in front of people. So then he started carrying the chicken guts in his pocket. And he would be like, oh, whatever. And then like when he was healing somebody, he would have like their mouth would be open and he would hurry quick, dump the chicken guts in their mouth. And then like they'd be like gagging it up. And he'd be like, oh, look, this is cancer. And everybody was like, oh, well, then like it started getting around town that like he was healing people of cancer. So people want to come back. Well, let it like there was even like doctors here. It was like, well, let us look at this cancer. Well, he was worried people were going to get too close. So he started having because he started amassing a pretty serious follower base. He started having one of them like walk close to him. And then when they spit the cancer up, he'd have them eat it real quick so that no one could look at it. And then would like he'd be like, I don't tell you, it just disappears. The cancer just disappears when they spit it, when I pull it from them. So I can't help you.
People are so stupid. That's my question about this whole thing.
Apparently they said the guy was like an enigma. Like he could talk people into doing whatever. Everybody loved him. Especially before he started taking drugs. Everybody thought he was like this, like, you know, this great guy. He did all this stuff to help them. Like he would use the church system. Like if people couldn't afford their bills, he'd help them pay their bills. You know, like I said, he was fight. Once again, he got back. He was helping fight segregation again. He was like doing all this stuff in the community. Like this guy could do no wrong. And so that he started building it up and getting real big. And then he started like having people sign over their wealth. So like, cause you know, you have to give money to church and he was going to use it to fix stuff. The church started running a nursing home, taking care of elder folks. And like, so like, you know, he was getting money that way too and started doing all this stuff in the community. Then he started realizing like there's not enough hours in the day for me to be this guy. Cause you know, at this point he was like a prophet of God. So he started doing a little bit of some uppers so he could stay up more. Which is where the sunglasses came in because his eyes were always red from the drugs. And he was always like spaced out. So that's why he started wearing sunglasses.
Seems reasonable.
Yeah. Then all of a sudden, people started trying to assassinate him because of his power, which really he was just setting it all up. And then he was like, he's getting so big. And then he decided that he needed to get into more politics. And he wanted to amass more. And there was like some churches in San Francisco that he wanted to take. And he was like, he started in Indianapolis for like local elections, realizing that he started working, wink, wink, swish, swish, with politicians to get certain things voted. If they helped get the church certain like goods or like contracts to help people with the community, stuff like that, that he would bust all of their followers to vote. And they would all vote with their hearts and what he told them to vote for. So then he went to California and set up this compound and started doing that. And started setting this up. And at this point, so he's working with politicians. He's getting real popular in San Francisco politics. Dianne Feldstein was somebody who he'd like working with. There was a congressman named Ryan Leo who he was working with. And also a very young Nancy Pelosi. He started like, you know, like they were around, like getting to know him, stuff like that. He was doing these votes. He was getting like doing protests and like all this stuff. Well, by this point, it was kind of becoming this like weird known fact around people who weren't part of the church. That he liked to have sex with everybody. And at this point, they had this land. He was having sex with most of the members. They were signing all their money over to him. He then, because of, you know, being in San Francisco, close, and also like in this part of California, he started having celebrities come and to his services, and they were given a bunch of money. Rosalind Carter, President Jimmy Carter's wife, they were on a writing basis and writing to each other. And so things were going good for him until he and his family, the church was like giving all this money, and they're like, "Hey, we got to go on a mission trip." And then they came back with all this stuff from Disneyland. And so like people were like, wait a minute. And then he had to go into a meeting in San Francisco, he told people. And next thing you know, he was arrested in a movie theater because now, if you ask him, he was set up by people trying to ruin his movement. It had nothing to do with him trying to solicit a prostitute. It was legit a hate job.
You got Pee Wee Herman.
Well, hey, how dare you? Okay, how dare you? He went to the bathroom, and the prostitute in question was an undercover police officer, and he was like, they were going to the stall, and he's like, "You're under arrest." He's like, "This is a setup. I wasn't going to do nothing. I was just peeing." And like, apparently, like when he walked into the bathroom, he already has wiener out. He's like, he's doing stuff with it. And when the police asked him about it, he's like, "Well, no, I have a kidney stone I was trying to work out." That's what he told him.
Yep.
Trying to work kidney stone out.
I heard that's how you get rid of kidney stones.
He, with his political connections, he ended up avoiding the charge. But a news reporter got wind of it because there's this guy, this preacher, rising in politics, known in the area. All these celebrities going to, like, well, I'm going to write a big article about it. He got scared. So at first, he was like he had a lawyer, a really good lawyer that was part of the church, and they were kind of fighting it. Around this time, he also started talking about communism, and that like Russia was an ally. And like they were like, communism way to go, and that he's going to bring equality to all of them. Everybody was going to be equal and all this stuff. The article is starting to come out
because he was just trying to Steven Seagal that shit.
He was trying to Steven Seagal. He's getting nervous because the article is coming out in parts. At the time, that's when they used to do like those exposés, like parts with issues and stuff. So now a lot of these celebrities are like, "Ooh, don't like the sound of this." So they're quitting going to church. Rosa Carter quits returning his letters because, she apparently did not like prostitution. He's getting nervous and he's like, "Man, if all my followers, because this party has like a compound in California, if they're all going to leave, I'm not going to have any money or anybody to have sex with."
More importantly. So
he flies down to Guyana, who like it was kind of like a poor country at the time, thick jungle. And he told the government's like, "I want to buy this big thing of land for religious freedom." And he goes, "We'll buy it and we're going to clear out the jungle and put a community there." Which the Guyanese government was like, "Man, that's thick jungle. We don't think they're going to be here very long because it fucking sucks." But it'll basically be free because they'll like clear out parts of the jungle and then we can like maybe get some more commercial stuff in there. Or to start with, and they're like, "Sure, great." So he buys it. He goes back to California, tells all people like, "Hey, it's like the middle of the night." He's like, "Things are shit bad. They're trying to assassinate me again. They're coming out with hit pieces. They want to ruin all of our lives. Don't worry about it. I got the promised land, and I got some people down there who's like clearing it out, which they weren't doing a very good job because it's thick fucking jungle, and these are all like Indiana farm boys who's never cleared out a jungle." And he's like, "We're going to go down there. They're going to clear it out for us. It's going to be great." It wasn't great. It was hot. It was sticky and humid. There's a bunch of animals in the woods. They had not cleared out very much of it. It was backbreaking work. They all had like little huts and stuff built. So they were all down there and they were like clearing it out. By this point, he's on so much drugs. And he's not sleeping very much. He's trying to oversee all this stuff. Like he's talking crazy, but now he's being God. And he's got it set up where like everybody, he's like, there's moles in this group that are like trying to turn us all in. So now they're all telling on each other. How dare you? How dare you? Everybody, all the followers, like all telling on each other. Everybody's like flipping out. And then he starts running these like white knights where he's like basically like, oh my God, the US government's come to kill all of us. We got to run to the jungle. So like they'd all run the jungle. And like sometimes he'd be like, psych, this was just practice. Or like one of the old people, because there's a bunch of old people with them. But like there was like one time the old lady fell and broke her hip in the woods. And he was
oh my God.
And he was like, JK, this is all just a test. And they had to carry her back through like 4 miles of the jungle. He started like pretending to poison people. He's like, you just drink poison. Like he's like, everybody, let's have a drink. Oh, it's poisoned. And then they start freaking out. He goes, I'm just kidding. Just kidding. So he like starts doing all this stuff. Like everybody's on edge. They're being tested all the time. He's making them work like 16, 18-hour days. They're not sleeping very much. There's not a lot of food because all the money is going into equipment to like clear out this jungle for him, which like chainsaws, it's like because this wood is old, wet, like jungle wood. So like chainsaw blades are like getting tear to shit. Like it's real expensive. Then he had a bright idea like, oh, you know what we need? We need some college educated people to come in this here and help me lead. So a bunch of the kids, he was like, hey, we're going to pay for you all to go to college. So you're going to leave for a couple years. You're going to go to college. Then you're going to come back. You're going to help me run this because we're going to set this up as the perfect socialist society. And they're all like, great. And then they all got to college. They're like, this is what life is like. That place fucking sucked. And they never went back. And so then he's like losing people. Now, by this point, there's been some members who's defected and escaped, and like they're going back. They're like, this place is like fucking, this dude's crazy. He's having sex with all of us, and he's like on drugs. And like there's a monkey down there named Mr. Muggs, and like he don't seem to like it. It's nuts. Then some families of people who like they're because like he would tell them they couldn't talk to their families. They're like, our fucking kid went missing. We think they're in South America. They're like 15. Because he would find like drug addicts and stuff like that off the street and like get them back, like, you know, help get them clean. And then like they felt like they owed him something and they would do whatever he wanted. So like they're writing to politicians and stuff. And then every time he has these white knights, he's like getting on the radio to some of his contacts left in like San Francisco. And he's like, we know you're coming to try to kill us. And like, they'd be like, what are you talking about? Like they had no clue. And then more articles started coming out about him. Like, you know, this is kind of a cult. Like, this is weird. Like all these parents are looking for their kids and stuff. So finally they got enough, Representative Leo got enough complaints. He's like, okay. He's like, you know what? He's like, fuck it. Me and some aides, we're going to go down there. We're going to take a look. I'm sure it's fine. I remember Jim Jones. There's that weird thing with the prostitute, but like, you know,
he's fine.
That's fine.
I'll go down there. Like they basically like treat it like, oh, this is going to be a vacation. We're going to swing by. We're going to look at like Jonestown. It's going to be great. Then we'll like go to a beach or something, get back to plane, come back, call it a long weekend. So they let Jonestown know they're coming. At this point, Jonestown is flipping the fuck out because they're like, oh my God, this is what he's been talking about. The government's coming.
All paranoid, yeah.
And he's like, and Jim Jones like, listen, we all got to be perfect because we got to show them like this is fine. This works. Everything's cool. And they'll leave us alone. So like people are flipping out. Then on the side, Jim Jones had a doctor and he told that guy, he's like, hey, I've been ordering a large supply of cyanide, which at the time you could apparently order a lot of because it was used for like rock mining and like stuff like that. It was a known poison, but it was just like, yeah, order as much as you want. And he's like, I have a large of it. He goes, I want you to figure out the fastest way for people to take it in an emergency that's the least painful. That's when he started testing it with Flavor Aid. And he figured out, oh, if I just mix it with this Flavor Aid, this will work out perfect. And so like Representative Leo gets there and what do they find? They find this little thriving community. Yeah, they have armed guards, but they're told, well, there's jungle cats.
Yeah, seems reasonable.
And prime apes. And snakes and stuff. And then like you have like bandits and things, so that's our protection. but like, look at our little shacks and our nice. And like, Ryan was like, oh, okay, yeah, this place looks nice. And they're like, oh, we're having a big feast for you. They had a band called the Jonestown Express. And they were like singing. And like, if you go on, it's the Jonestown Institute. Jim Jones basically had a recording going on of the town at all times. You can listen to a lot of these tapes. You can listen to this night. They're like singing and they're joking. And then he had like a bunch of people in the church stand up and be like, yeah, Mr. Ryan, this is great. Like, this place is awesome. Blah, 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 blah. And like, he's like, oh, okay, that's cool. This place is sweet. And so the next day he's like, all right, so he's like, well, might as well just stay here tonight and then we'll leave in the morning. Everybody's like, great, awesome. So the next morning, him and the congressman and his crew, they get up, like, all right, we'll get some breakfast and then we'll head the hell out of town. If we leave now, probably make it to a nice beach. So like they're eating breakfast, and as they're like kind of standing around this big pavilion they had Jonestown, someone passes a note that's basically like, get my children the fuck out of here. Please take my children. And like, they didn't give it to the congressman. They gave it to one of his aides. This guy was trying to be slick and like get it in the congressman's hand, and he fucking dropped it in front of everybody. And then like they picked it up and they read it, and then like it was fucking pandemonium. They're going to tell Jim Jones. Now people are like, oh, someone's trying to get their kids to leave. Fucking take all of our kids. Take us. We don't want to be here. This dude's nuts. And then people were trying to stop them from leaving. It was turmoil. And then like Jim Jones had a meeting, and he was like, all these people were speaking like, we want to leave. He's like, well, you can leave if you want to. No one's forcing you to be here. And Ryan was like, okay, well, I'm going to take some of these people. He goes, I can't fit that many. I'm going to take some of these people and we're going to get out of here. At that time, Jim Jones was like, well, I'm about to get in trouble, because if you think about it, he's been running a cult pretty much, but it was more for him just to get a bunch of money. He's stolen all these people's money, separated them from their families. He had a bunch of guns, cyanide, and all this shit, where he was like embezzling and doing all this shit to these people. He's like, we can't leave here. He had his army follow Congressman Leo back to the airport, where they shot them all, except for one person survived. And then they had the Flavor Aid set up, and they forced everybody to drink the Flavor Aid. I think like it was like 300 something people died. Only like 3 people survived. One guy who, like, when they're forcing everybody to drink the Flavor Aid, like, he walked up to the guards, he's like, God doesn't want me to die. And the guards are like, okay,
all right, sounds good.
They let him go. One other person escaped in the jungle, and one other person I believe was a guard. He was just like looking around, like, well, time to go.
The old like, and dumping out the side. Like,
at that time, there was offices in Jonestown, or there's offices in the U.S. still for the People's Temple, because it is kind of getting big. Couple of the offices, they had sent code to them. They drank the poison. Mr. Muggs, the poor monkey, he was the first one. They made him drink it first, just kind of fucked up.
Yeah, they should give him a handgun. That's what I'd say.
I was like, why just let him go to the jungle? He's a monkey. Yeah,
that's true.
I mean, I guess he was raised in captivity, so like,
yeah, he wouldn't make it very far. But it's better than drinking cyanide,
right?
You know?
Fact.
Yeah, it was the largest mass suicide event. And what I just gave for people listening is a very quick, high level overview. This was a thing that took place for years. His descent into madness. A really good book is like I said, The Road to Jonestown. It's a really good book. You can go to the Jonestown Institute and like listen to these tapes, look into it. A lot of people think Jim Jones like this kind of like mystical, like, no, the dude was addicted to drugs and sex and not working for a living, and spending other people's money. He was a ball bag.
Addicted to not working for a living. It hasn't worked out.
Do you have a cult?
Well, you know the answer to that question.
Well, you're a part of a cult.
Got a monkey.
Yeah, well,
I'm halfway there.
But yeah, the dude was a straight up ball bag who killed a bunch of people. And like those people, like, they were tricked. because like a lot of these people were like poor people in Annapolis, and he was like, he was helping them for years. And they're like, we're gonna follow him. A lot of people called him dad or father, which made it weird. The fact that a lot of them were sleeping with him.
Yeah, that's real weird, actually.
They found out too after all this with some of the tapes. He used to have, because he had his like church elders, and they would have meetings. And here, when he would get mad at people, he was having punishments. And some of the punishments was he'd make people box. And there's instances where he had like 20-year-olds box like 70-year-old women,
beating the shit out
as a punishment and stuff. The dude was fucked in the head.
That's crazy.
Yeah, he was a huge piece of shit. But
now, hold up.
Yeah.
Please tell me at some point, though, he had a man in his 30s box the monkey.
Yeah. I mean,
I don't think everybody loved Mr. Muggs. They like everything I've ever read or saw was until they forced this monkey. Well,
I'm sorry, Jeff. I just figured that was the one.
No. Everybody loved this monkey. Now, towards the end of his life, while they were like clearing out the jungle and working, they kept him in like a cage or like a locked up in his pen a lot because they were worried that they were more worried about the wild monkeys were gonna fuck him up.
Yeah.
And then apparently,
I'm so glad they were worried for his health.
Yeah, and apparently, like, you know, whether it caught animal or monkey sense, like the day of, like they're like he was fucking crazy, like he knew something was crazy was happening. So like they had to lock him up, and then he was the first one. Mr. Muggs. Fucked up.
Fuck Tom Jones.
Yeah.
Jim Jones?
Jim Jones. Sorry, whatever.
And Tom Jones.
Yeah, Tom Jones.
But this guy is actually...
It is unusual. How about that?
Yeah. But yeah, everybody thinks he... Like, I know, like I said, this movie, it was a death cult, but like Jonestown is kind of like the example. It was like the first modern example of a death cult. They actually, like, from Jonestown, because of this, a lot of places start studying it. That's how you start getting like various organizations starting to step up and be like, oh, if people are talking like, hey, my kid's in a cult, we should probably take that serious.
Investigate it.
Politicians all of a sudden were like more concerned about if people they were hanging out with or giving money to was like, well, that guy's in a weird religious organization. They were like, hold on a second, maybe I should look into this. Like it had large ramifications, and like after it happened, you saw a lot of these politicians all of a sudden were like, he was just a guy that would come around sometimes.
Yeah.
But
that
there's
seems
like
to happen a lot with politicians.
It does. But yeah, that's the first big example. There's other ones that took place after that. There for a while in the US, like cults were the thing. Kind of like serial killers. Kind of weird. Like we had like
you know what else was the thing in the 60s?
Drugs.
Hard drugs.
Yep.
Yeah.
Hey, and he did a lot of them. That like they literally, if you look at picture Jim Jones, most of your finds him in his aviator sunglasses. He only started wearing them because of drugs to cover how like bloodshot and droopy his eyes had become. Sunglasses. That's why I wore them. Drugs.
Why sunglasses? I just assume everybody in sunglasses is stoned all the time.
What if it's sunny out?
Stoned and sunny.
Could be two
enough.
Things.
Fair enough. Hey, I can't argue with that.
Why would you?
Hey.
Let's be on the same side for once, Eli. We don't have to fight.
I don't want to fight. Listen, I agree with you. Mr. Muggs, like those poor people didn't
dial up fast enough.
Yeah. Hey, those poor people didn't deserve that cult. Mr. Muggs definitely didn't deserve it.
Yeah.
He didn't sign up for it. You know, I'm with you. I'm on the same side of you. Yeah. All I do know is I would never trust a monkey salesman in Indianapolis, Indiana.
That's true. It's true.
Because that one, I feel like it's a weird place to buy a monkey.
I mean, what would be the appeal of like moving to the jungle and making you do like I just that's
he basically thought he was separating the people. They're like, well, they're not going to get American news. So they're not going to find out that I've been like,
well, why would
having sex with
why would people following to the jungle? I don't know. It's
because like this guy had them so convinced by this point that like socialism was the way to go, that he was God and that he had all these powers, that the government was going to kill them. He also at the time you were dealing with like kind of like during the time, a lot of his core folks, they were dealing with segregation, and he was so like there was that aspect. He was like, well, only I'm gonna not let that happen to you. It's like, you know, they like he helped them a lot with that. He also a lot of like the members, he had them convinced that if like they started to be like, you know what, this is all fucking weird, and I never have any money, and you've been going to Disneyland. He would basically make up all these bullshit lies on a piece of paper, have them sign it, be like, well, see if you ever leave me, now I can go to court and be like, you murdered 15 babies, you signed it right here. That's all the evidence I need. He also started like, you know, playing more into the mystical powers. There's one point where like he had people convinced that if they didn't listen to him, bad things would happen. So he was always like, hey, no one leaves till I say to leave, or bad things will happen, or hey, you better go home and wash your ass, or something bad will happen. And like people were like, oh, I don't know. And then like one day he said it to somebody, and like that person died in a car accident on the way home. And everybody was like, holy shit. Like, even though like he'd been doing it for years.
So he was like the first Annabelle, basically.
Kind of. He was. He was the first Annabelle. And like this poor, like the guy, like the person that died, like, or then like so that person died, and then like there was another person who like he convinced that too. And so, and then like he got in a car accident, which people were like, well, maybe he was like fucking with people's cars at that point, when they're like, well, no one believed them. But then all of a sudden, like people were dying in car accidents, and like this one guy, like there was a car accident, and his like family died, but him. And then all Jim Jones did was make fun of him because he didn't listen, and his family was dead.
Jesus Christ!
And then like then he
That's a piece of trash.
Yeah, then he told that guy he was going to set up with another wife. And then he's like, no, I'm going to sleep with her now. And then he took his wife. And like that guy was always like sad. Then he said he was going to like cure people. And there was like this pedophile. And they're like, I'm going to cure him of it. And then they caught him doing pedophile things. So he had someone beat him in the crotch for hours with a garden hose. And that guy was fucked up. And everybody's like, oh shit. Like he's doing that kind of shit. So then like when they time to go to Jonestown, everybody was like, all right. And then he's like, when we get there, Russia's going to come save us and take us to their socialist paradise. They're like, okay, sure. All right. He says we're not going to be in the jungle long. And then he basically, when he got the jungle, to keep him complicit, he didn't let him sleep a lot, didn't feed him a lot, caused him to panic. And then if people didn't listen, he would lock them in a box in the sun until they, were calm.
This is starting to sound a lot like a cult.
You know what? It was a cult. And like I said, if people are interested, like we could do 19 hours on this. There's so much shit with this. And that's just the cliff notes. Just get you pique your interest. So if you are out there, people, and someone knocks on your door like, hey, I run a church and I sell monkeys. Do you have a minute to talk? Say no.
Just shut the door.
Just shut the door.
I'm letting them right in. I want to hear about this monkey.
If someone goes, hey, I think you have cancer, open your mouth, let me look. Don't open your mouth.
Well, like
if you do open your mouth and you feel something gross come out of it, he's like, oh, look, this is cancer. It's not. Just go to the doctor. Be like, I think I may have had chicken guts in my mouth.
Please give me a shot of something. Can you
test me for like salmonella or E. coli or something? If he tells you, hey, you got to sign over all your money and come move into this compound with me in California, say no. Be like, you know what? I'm good. And then in the middle of the night, he's like, hey, we need to hurry up and rush to this like land I bought in South America to escape persecution. And it has nothing to do with an article coming about me embezzling all of you and sleeping with male prostitutes in movie theater bathrooms. Be like, check, please. I'm done. This is done. And by that point, if you're in the jungle, just be like, hey, I'm going to go poop behind this tree. You're better chance to run through the jungle facing wild jungle monkeys and jungle cats and whatever big bugs are in the jungle. And whatever, like a bunch of plants I'm sure can kill you in the jungle, but like, whatever. It's better than any of this.
Yeah.
It's better than any of this. Yeah.
That's for sure.
Or if he's like, hey, you did something bad, I need you to box this old lady. I wouldn't do that either.
Don't punch old ladies. That's your advice.
That's your.
I'd be more worried that
that's the message of this show. Don't punch old ladies.
I would be more worried that if the lady was like, if it was an old lady with boxing gloves, I'd be like, how many matches she won?
Right. Yeah. What's her record?
Is this her first boxing match?
Mm.
Because if they're like, well, she's done this before, I'd be like, well, I'm done.
She's undefeated heavyweight champion.
Yeah, she's 12-0. Oh crap!
If she's like putting in a mouth guard, I'm gonna be like,
better get her some Kool-Aid.
I'm like, a Flavor Aid.
Yeah,
her name is Veronica Tyson.
I'm like, nope, I don't want nothing to do with this. I don't want nothing to do with this. Wait, are you trying to say that's why Mike Tyson the way he is? Because his grandma was boxing in a cult boxing league?
Why would it be his grandma? It was his mom.
But she's an old lady. Like, are you saying she had him when she was old and he was young? Wait,
how old do you think Mike Tyson is?
Well, that's why I'm confused by.
He's like 50, probably 50-some years old now.
Yeah,
gotta be, which would put him right around.
He's 57 years old.
Yeah,
he was born in 1966. You're right. This would see.
Come on, guy.
You'll catch up.
Hold on a second.
It's all right.
I swear. Mike. You know what?
I'm not. All I know is I'm not saying anything bad about Mike Tyson because he ain't listening to this.
The Jonestown Massacre occurred in November of 1978. Mike Tyson was born in 1966, so he'd been 12 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Jonestown started
he grew up with the story.
I would pay either of you an exorbitant amount of money to watch you walk up to Mike Tyson and be like, was your family, did your mom
May I
box
interest you in a monkey?
Didn't he have a monkey? No, he didn't.
He sure did.
No, he had a tiger.
He had a chimpanzee.
Mm-hmm.
You know who else had
Wicked Right?
You know who else had a pet monkey?
Michael Jackson.
Mm-hmm. Was his name Mr. Bubbles or Bubbles?
Yeah, Bubbles, Mr. Bubbles.
Yeah. Why does everybody who has a monkey?
Prime ape. That was not a monkey.
Well, yeah. I think they're all primates, right?
Nope.
You know what? All I know is whatever make believe cult you and Jamie are starting. I don't see you have a cool monkey mascot.
What was that? Clyde?
A friggin' dragon.
Was that Clyde from
Every Which Way But Loose?
Right?
Yeah.
He was an orange tang.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he was an orange tang.
Yeah, he was true. It's not just any monkey.
Wouldn't that be a different movie if like they're driving their, and like he pulls in and like they're like, all right, we're gonna see my friend Jim and his monkey friend, Mr. Muggs.
Mr. Muggs.
I would not. I'm not gonna lie. I would watch that movie.
Yeah, I was gonna say you're like I wouldn't watch it. Yeah, I would.
I would.
DVR.
You would recommend it to others, is what
I know.
First off, I don't recommend anything named.
Really?
I mean, I do. I do recommend. I have on more than one occasion when the thing of calls come up, like, oh, you should read Road to Jonestown, or like, oh, here's a really good documentary about Heaven's Gate, which is another one I'm sure we'll talk to you about sometime.
I was going to say you've recommended 3 things on this episode.
I have done that. There's also Charlie Manson. I got stuff I can recommend about him. Which
Mr. Helter Skelter himself.
Right. You know what I will say though?
Say it.
I'll say this.
Don't let the man hold you down. I want you to say it.
I want to say it. Jim Jones was probably smart that he killed himself too. Because one, if they'd found it, he killed a congressman, he was going to go to jail for life, right? But look what happened to Charlie Manson at the end. He got a little bit of his just desserts because like he married that person, and then there was that whole thing about they were going to donate his body to science and take it on a traveling show so people could see his dead body. You know what I mean?
Is he still alive or did he die?
No, he died.
He died.
Yeah,
I want to apologize to you.
Why is that?
I take personal responsibility for encouraging you, even egging you on to say that. I apologize.
Thank you. Jeff, to answer your question, Charlie Manson died in 2017.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I now got to ask. This is another question I probably shouldn't ask. I'm asking anyways. Of all the cult leaders, who's if there was a fight for biggest piece of shit cult leader, who's winning? Who is Jim Jones the worst? Charlie Manson? Marshall whatever numbnuts leader of Heaven's Gate? Who's the worst?
I mean, just by volume, it has to be him, right? It has to be just because there's so many people.
Yeah.
I think for me, it's going to be hard to surpass Crowley.
Oh, he didn't really have a cult, though. I mean, kind of.
Yes, he did.
Yeah, but they were more like
People
wizards
eating shit in a chicken coop for a year.
Yeah,
Yeah.
But, like that was for like magical stuff. They thought they were. They thought they were wizards.
That's.
They all thought they were wizards about the moon child. Like, you know what I mean?
By your recollection, Dumbledore's a cult leader. So
yeah, you know,
he is.
Crowley just thought he was a wizard. Doing wizard stuff.
That's all he thought?
Well, I mean, there's some other stuff.
He may have thought he was a god.
Well, yeah. Yeah. And then he liked having butt sex in the desert. You know?
Mm-hmm.
And he's
not a cult. I appreciate how quickly you came to his defense.
I'm not coming to his defense. I'm just saying there's a difference between like a fucked up version of Hogwarts and a cult. You know what I mean?
Wait, you're comparing Harry Potter to Aleister Crowley?
No. I'm saying it's a fucked up version of Hogwarts. Well, what if I told you? What if Aleister Crowley, he kind of fought eventually another cult? Well, he didn't fight. He basically screwed over L. Ron Hubbard. There's a story about how he kind of screwed over L. Ron, because L. Ron Hubbard was going to be a wizard for a while. And then he realized he wasn't very good at wizarding.
Because Crowley bullied him.
A little bit. And stole his boat.
Stole his boat?
Yeah, there's a story like he basically he stole his boat.
But not a cult. Okay.
I'm not saying it's not cult-like, but they all thought they were becoming wizards. Which I guess by that definition, Shinrikyo is a cult, and they all thought they were becoming anime characters. So, all right, fair. You know what, Dave? You got me convinced.
I didn't realize that was something I was going to have to convince you of.
Well, like my thing was like, yeah, was he leading? Was he forcing people to do stuff? Sure.
Did he have children wandering the woods aimlessly and feral?
Yeah, a little bit. But it was also they could become wizards because they were fighting demons to obtain higher levels of magic.
But not a cult. Okay. Got it.
Wizarding school. I would say this, right? Like if Jamie said the Mole Kingdom was like a weird cult that no one wanted to join. I would argue
it's a smelly cult.
No, I would argue it's a survivalist school. Teach how to live in dirt and survive alien doom, lizard people doom, chemtrails, you name it. We can survive it. So it's more like a survival school. Hey, all right, you have your choice. Follow the guy who has a monkey who's going to put chicken guts in your mouth.
No.
Or join me in our below ground bunker.
No.
We have plenty of DVDs.
Oh, wow. Yeah, they're all the same movie.
I mean, we got all the Lord of the Rings, right?
Yeah.
I'm just going to give you a heads up and share a little piece of Dave with you. Anytime you give me an arbitrary and required, you have to make choice A or B, Dave will make choice C. Even if he ends up broken and bloody, he will not make, come hell or high water, he will not choose from the options given to him.
Okay. Let me, I'm not going to force you, but let's say arbitrarily a decision laid in front of you. You can either join me in my survival school and learn to be a dirt wizard, or you have to box Mr. Muggs.
Or I got you on fire and roast a marshmallow.
That's
So, did you just refer to your mole kingdom as, or your mole whatever nonsense as dirt wizards?
Well, yeah, like I'm like, I think I'm more spinning like I can teach you underground magic. You know what I mean? Yeah, I'm trying a new PR thing.
Okay.
You need to keep workshopping it. It is not ready for public consumption yet.
Man, I really thought, like I said, we've been doing this, over 2 years? I thought by now we'd get one comment or one letter willing to join. And I feel like I'm trying to force people to join. No one wants to.
It's real weird.
No, it's a join. It's a weird thing.
It's real weird. I think it's the pitch. Let me just put it that way.
Yeah.
The pitch needs.
I think it's the product more than the pitch.
An underground bunker that will let you survive anything.
But you're going to be in there, so.
Well, first off, that's a little hurtful.
And you've described it as a dirt hole where they have to strip down to their tidy whities.
That's just when you're digging. That's when you're just digging it there. You don't want your.
I think there was talks of being greased up at one point.
Well, right? that was to go. That's only when we're going through the portal at Skinwalker Ranch. All I'm saying is, right? You guys all laugh, but I don't know if you watched the news here recently. They found that civilization. They think those weird city lights. They think are Proxima B with that new telescope. They also released that footage got leaked of that jellyfish alien, Jeff, that was floating around a military base. Mm-hmm. So I'm just saying, things are happening. Jeff's greatest fear. You know where one place jellyfish can't get?
I told you, do not mistake my hatred for fear. Don't that you did it again. Don't.
All I'm saying is, you could be outnumbered. Now the jellyfish are flying in the air. You could easily be outnumbered. And where's the best place for safety? My underground bunker.
I've been honing my anti-jellyfish skills for years, so don't worry about it.
Realistically, how many jellyfish could you fight that's flying through the air at one time?
You'd be surprised.
All of them.
Their tentacles are like flopping around.
I'm just going to say you'd be surprised.
Wow.
So
Jeff, it concerns me how much Eli has prodded you for information.
I know
about your jellyfish plans.
You know,
you think he might be working for them?
It could be.
Have they gotten to him?
No, I'm trying to provide him safety, so that way I don't have a bunch of empty chairs in my dirt bunker.
You mollusk lover!
How dare you? Everybody knows jellyfish are the natural enemies of moles. Everybody knows this.
Obviously,
moles can't swim. So
you sound like an invertebrate apologist to me.
Yeah.
First off, don't use that term with me. I am not. Okay. I am not. All I'm saying is I got like all the Lord of the Rings on DVD down there, all the SpaghettiOs you could eat, the third season of Buffy.
You only have to talk about poop 80% of the time.
I'll even lower it to 60 for you, Dave. We'll have a poop hour. Like once a day for 1 hour, I can talk about poop.
Do I have to be there?
Yeah. There's a speaker playing through it, so everybody has to listen to it. It's called Poo Talk. Well, like back in like the 80s, there was that old lady who used to talk about sex on TV. She used to have like the infomercials.
I don't know what that means.
Man.
You talking about the Where's the Beef lady?
No, that's a commercial lady. Who's that lady that used to like, because you'd be like watching Comedy Central. I remember I was a kid, but I was like South Park. And then like at 2:00 in the morning, it'd switch over to like this old lady talking about sex.
That
like
therapist lady?
Yeah.
What was not, oh my gosh. I know who you're talking about. I can't remember her name though.
Yeah, that's what I mean. So like
she had glasses.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh.
And it was gross. It's like you're 100, lady. Hey Dave, why don't you tell me about the Wicked Wild?
The end. Well, thank you for listening on our Jonestown coverage this week. Please be kind to monkeys. If you had one takeaway, just be kind to all animals. And if somebody tells you to do harm to an animal, just punch him in the goober and go home. Okay.
You know what? That's the perfect advice you could give for a cult. Punch him in the goober and just go home. If you think you're a cult, just punch everybody in the goober. Go home.
Start out tomorrow is a brand new day. I'll put it that way. If you want to learn more about us, you can go to our website, thewickedwild.com. You can follow us on Twitter/X at Wicked While We Are, on Slasher, the horror only community, at Wicked While We Are, or on Instagram at Wicked Wild Pod. I would give you my email to give us some feedback and stuff, but I think I'm going to pass on that this week.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't put that out there.
Which part is it? The monkey stuff? The talk sex with that old lady stuff?
It's not a part of it. It's the whole thing. Mr. Jones can just rot wherever he is.
Yep. And I think my new ending to every episode from now is going to be, and if you wake up tomorrow and you think, you know what? I'm going to punch him in the goober and go home.
Punch him in the goober and go home. Hey, it's sage advice.
That's sage advice. I feel like we should put that on a t-shirt.
Exactly. I just hope somebody out there goes to work tomorrow and gets the sense that they might be in a cult at work.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Somebody's getting punched in the goober.
Don't do it, Eli. I just saw the light go off.
I was going to say, are you telling me to get punch people? Go home?
Hey, just if you think about it,
okay.
Work is just a place where they manipulate you, consume your time, and give you a pittance for the effort that you put in so that they can make more money off of you.
Basically a cult.
It sounds like a cult to me.
And I'm not even learning how to become a wizard there.
Exactly.
Tell you what, Dave.
They probably don't even give you tasty snacks, do they?
No, they don't. I mean, I work from home, so it's my own job to get my own tasty snacks.
Sounds like there's some goober punching in your future, my man.
It does. All right, everybody. Well, hey, I'm going to go punch some goobers. Bye.